Welcome to the Big Mike Fun Podcast, where you'll learn about advanced wealth building strategies from real estate investing to creating massive ROI and secured retirement profits. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, grab a notepad, and lean in, because Big Mike has got the mic, starting now.
Welcome to the Big Mike Fun Podcast. I'm the Big Mike Zlotnik. Today it is my pleasure and a privilege to have Ryan Pineda join us. Hi, Ryan.
What's up, Mike? Happy to be here, man.
Thank you very much for joining. So Ryan is a brother from the Collective Genius Mastermind. He is a master of many trades. He's former professional baseball player. He has a massive social media following. He's a real estate guru. He's out of Las Vegas, Nevada. What am I missing? What other ways? What other accomplishments or medals you have?
Oh man, I mean, I got some awards back there for stuff, but nah, man, just a family man, wife, two young kids, try and make sure I keep time for them, even though I've got a bunch of different businesses going on. So it's just, I would say master life balancer, just trying to stay balanced in all areas.
That's a great way to describe. Forgive me, I usually start with I call it wife's, kids, cats, pets, but thank you for, how old are your kids?
My son is 2.5, his name's James, and my daughter just turned 1, her name's Olivia.
Well, that's awesome. These are, I guess when you're young, they don't drive you as much, you get older. The kids is your motivation to keep going, so.
Yeah.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about your business. So let's start with the social media. You have massive following and you just started a fund. You just started a real estate fund in addition to everything else. So how do you feel being a new fund manager?
Well, I got to say, man, I got to thank you for just all the advice you've given me as I've been building out the fund. And I've taken a lot of what you said and applied it to my own fund. And I'm definitely excited that at some point we're going to be doing some deals together, but it's a cool feeling, man. I got started doing it because my buddy Tim Bratz, who we both know from Collective Genius, challenged me. I put out a goal on social media at the start of the year. I said, I want to buy 50 units. And Tim comments, he's like, 50 units? What do you like? You should be buying 500 units. That's nothing. And I'm like, dude, right now my portfolio is like 30 doors. Now, granted, I own them all 100%. It's not a fund, but I'm like, dude, getting 50 would be more than double. And he kind of changed my mindset of like, look, buying big multifamily and stuff is not that much different than what you're currently doing. And with your social media following, you can raise money and you can, do things way better than most people can. So kind of just went down that path and started in February, just like the paperwork and with the lawyers and all that stuff, and it took me a few months. And, then we started building out the marketing side of it and the website and, the lead forms and creating content to bring awareness to it. And, as we sit here in mid-July, we've got everything going now. We've got a ton of interested investors. We've got a 334 unit apartment complex under contract. So it's moving quick.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's a lot of progress in a short amount of time. So great work.
Yeah.
So your first deal, I guess we talked about this. You're partnering up with Tim Bratz. So how do you feel about that? As a fund manager, because I wear this hat, and we do pick the best kind of operators and sponsors we work with, and it's really important because as a fund manager, you can't really be active with the property. So how do you feel working with Tim and just talk a little bit about the first project, how you underwriting it, how you feel about your first investment.
Yeah. So, the first thing I did, since obviously I don't have fund experience and, I have real estate experience, but, commercial is a different ballgame. And first thing I did was reach out to guys like Tim, guys like you, guys I know, in Collective Genius who are doing it at a high level. And I just really picked everyone's advice and, tried to see like, what are the consistent things they're all saying, and if everyone's saying I need to do those things, then that's for sure, a thing I need to do. Now, obviously everyone's got different tips and, ways they do their business, and everyone's business is unique. So I kind of took what my strengths would be and said, okay, let's try and apply my strengths to what these guys are doing. And basically what I decided was I needed to find, somebody with experience with a fund and make them a partner in my business, have them able to underwrite the deals and, essentially try to kill the deals, like, hey, where are all the problems with this deal? What can screw us and all that stuff. And I found a really good guy. His name is Austin, young dude who's worked at a fund for like the last 4 years. And he's done a lot of things. He's very detail oriented, very, in the numbers. Whereas I'm like a big picture guy. I'm like, let's just freaking start the fund and see what happens. And, he's the guy to counter that, make sure that we're getting into great deals. So that was the first step, was listening to guys like you, then hiring, because all of you said you need somebody on your team that's got experience. Like, you guys don't want to learn from scratch. So getting someone on our team that has experience. And then from there, just doing what I've already done with networking and marketing. Like, okay, I'm letting everyone know we've got a fund, we're buying, let's get all the deals, let's start raising money. We did that. And, for us, our business model isn't to become operators right away. At least, we want to just partner up with other operators who've got way more experience than us. And essentially, we'll just raise the money for them, because I think we can raise money at a high level and also underwrite deals to make sure that they're good. And thankfully, my relationship with Tim led us to this deal. Our first deal is like a big one right out the gate. I was expecting like, okay, like let's get our feet wet. We'll get like a 50 unit, 100 unit, something. He's like, yeah, I got this 334 units. Here's the numbers, do your due diligence, run, see what you come back with, but it's a great deal. So we ran everything. And I said, wow, like, okay, this is a good deal. And we went out there to Georgia last week to go look at the units firsthand. And I was like, man, like, this is a good deal. Like, this is in better shape than I thought. I liked what I saw with the city. And I feel very confident about the deal now, just going through all the steps of the process. Now, obviously, we're not at the finish line yet. We still got to raise, some more money, and we've got to get the loan and do what we got to do. But to me, it's very much like a single family deal. I mean, you just got to get money, you got to get a loan, you got to underwrite the deal. And, the acquisition part is very similar. I feel like it's, the operation once we buy it, that's going to make or break it. So, that's kind of where we're at with this deal. But I honestly, I know I'm not the smartest guy in commercial, nor am I the best. So I want to make sure I'm partnering with other operators who are.
Yeah, great approach. You are acting sort of very wisely by listening to the folks with the experience and leveraging a great hire, which is critical. You definitely want to have a good underwriter in the team, somebody who's, like you said, they're going to talk about what's wrong with the deal, because most of the deals out there are just not good enough, and having a critical member of your team who can underwrite is very important. But on the other side, like you said, I think your brilliance is in the vision and the investor communications and being the face. And if you have enough people who can do the underwriting and then operations or partnering with an operator, that should work. And again, as a fund manager, I can tell you the operating capability is critical. Your success on a value add project is really dependent on the ability to execute. So you could find a deal, you could get the financing. And by the way, I agree with you that the economy of scale is critical. Whether you get 50 doors or 100 doors or 300 doors, the effort to get the deal done is more or less the same. And you definitely have not only good return on investment, but good return on effort. So effort is similar. If you don't have the scalability, you wind up spending a lot of time for very little upside, because you got to eat too. So the deals have to make sense economically for investors and have to make good return on effort to the fund manager. So all that's good. Now let's shift a little bit into the capital raising. So how are you raising capital? You have massive audience, you have TV show, TV production, you have social media following. So what are you doing to raise capital? Just curious, because it's very different. I'm used to working with very different capital raisers that go to more institutional players. You're going to the masses. You're going to the broad audience and looking for, I guess, folks that know, like, and trust you. They admire you. They want to invest with you. So
Right.
we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've talked to different guys, obviously, about how to raise capital the best way. And the biggest thing for me was like, man, okay, how do I do this in the most legal way? Because now that it's just going to be broadcasted out there, I got to make sure I'm following all the rules. So, I've looked at the way of trying to go. I don't know if I would call it the old school method or what, of going to like these family offices and IRAs and things like that. But from what I've been told, they always want a different type of structure with your fund that really benefits them. And I'm not really about that, especially if I feel like we're going to be getting way better deals than what they're going to be doing. So I have seen that already with a couple of people that have reached out to us where they're like, oh, well, this guy gives 80% to the investors and this or that. And I'm like, this guy also gets crappy deals. You want 80% of a piece of crap, or you want, half of a watermelon? You tell me. And so I just don't really care. I mean, I can, at the point I am in my life, if somebody doesn't want to invest, I don't really care. It's just, to me, it's their loss. So that's the approach I take. Like, if you don't want to invest with us, I don't care. So that's one approach. Whereas other people, I think, are always chasing the money. We always do the pullback. Like, look, we're the prize. We have the deal. We know what we're doing. We have the connections. You don't. And good luck if you want to go do it on your own. But on the other side of it, with raising money the way I'm doing it now, is strictly through social media. And so we're creating content around the deal and what we're doing. We're building excitement. And so when I film a YouTube video at the actual apartment, people can see it firsthand what it is. Like, they're seeing me walk through it, showcase it, the good, the bad. We're talking about numbers and plans. And I mean, when you can tangibly see it, and the guy that, he's there, me, you're like, okay, like, this is legit. This is real. Like, I see it, versus like looking at a spreadsheet. So I think a lot of people's marketing to investors is wrong, in that they're trying to give them a slide deck and a spreadsheet, which is like old school, I would say, versus the best form of marketing is, man, if I make a captivating 15-minute video showcasing what's going on, I'm going to get way more investors. And we're actually about to release that tomorrow. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. But even with just me announcing it once on YouTube, holding one webinar and, just talking about it a little bit on Instagram. I mean, we've already had like 500-600 people apply, who, are going to end up obviously not all of them would be investors, but there's a lot of money in there that as long as we follow up and we do what we're supposed to do, I mean, we'll raise a lot of money just from what's currently in our database. And really, we're just trying to fill the database up with as many leads as possible from all the social media. And I think it's going to make us really successful. The other part of it is, you mentioned know, like, and trust, because maybe they've been following me for a while. And we've seen that, most people don't even like look at the PPN or the returns or anything. They're like, dude, I mean, we're going to get a great return. We already know we are. Like, I don't even care. It's better than what I could do if I tried to go invest myself in the stock market or whatever. Right. So they're like, I'd rather just put it with Ryan. I mean, that guy always negotiates good deals. So that's kind of what most of our investors will be. It was funny. I had somebody sent me one email where he's like, yeah, okay, send me the PPM, whatever. I've never talked to the guy. I don't have a relationship with him or anything. And, he comes back. He's like, okay, I'm going to send it all to legal, but I'll be good for $1 million. Like, I have no idea who this guy is or anything. He just saw my YouTube video and he's going to stroke a check for $1 million. So like the power of social media is extremely crazy if you can build up a brand that people trust.
Yeah, that's massive. And I have to say that I'm the old school. I'm the guy who does the spreadsheets and the PowerPoints, and you are the I don't know, whatever you call the generation, the young generation that can actually appeal to social media. This is one of the things that I need to learn from you, how to better present the offerings. And you're right, a good video, what do they say? A picture is worth 1,000 words, and a good video is worth, I don't know, 1,000 pictures. So
yeah, well, I think you get 1,000x return compared to making a slide deck or something. And even, in our webinar, it's a slide deck, it's a presentation, right? And as I was thinking about the webinar, I'm like, okay, I have all the pro formas, I have all these numbers. I could really talk a ton about every little detail and what the 1 year return looks like through year 7 and all these things. And in the end, I just realized like most people attending this webinar don't care about that. They just want to know, like, what's in this for me? How much, what do you think I'm going to make? It's like, if I could give them the big picture overview without getting in the weeds, they're going to be more excited and want to invest more. Now, granted, we can still send them all that stuff because we have it. And for the analytical types or, the detail-oriented investors who want to see every little thing, great, we have it. We're just not going to talk about it on a webinar. And we say that on the web. I'm like, look, this is the broad overview. Like, if you want to talk more, you want all the full details, just, text this number. We'll shoot you everything we got, read through it. Then let's have a conversation, if it makes sense.
Yeah, that's the truth of the matter. Most people will not read the PPMs, and that's the reality. These PPMs are not written as marketing documents, but more of it's a legal disclosure document and the obviously summary of terms. So yeah, I appreciate your wisdom, and honestly, I have to say that this is where maybe we chat offline, but we could use a little help in the social media, and I almost admire your success and acknowledge it, that everything you said makes total sense. Most investors invest because of the emotion, not because of the logic. And
Yep.
if you can appeal to their emotion, if they feel great investing with you, the terms don't seem to matter as much. So like you said, what's funny, we have institutional waterfalls. We offer investors 8 pref and 80-20 split. And you don't have to offer the same split for the reasons that you're appealing to emotion, we're appealing to logic. And through social media, your methodology works a lot better than what we do. But
well, another thing too that we're doing is, speaking of emotion stuff, right? It's funny, you learn this in sales and in hiring, more so in hiring, right? So with hiring people, you've got the actual paycheck, how much they're making, but also the emotional paycheck. And so if you have an environment in your workplace that is just the best of the best, it cannot be replicated, your culture is top notch, people want to work for you, and people will take a pay cut to do it because the emotional paycheck is so high. And so you'll see like our turnover is super low because people just love working for us. Now, granted, they're not underpaid by any means, but the fact that they get a good paycheck and an emotional paycheck makes it so that they never want to leave. And I mean, you hear people talk about that all the time with any job, right? They're like, look, I know I can make more at somewhere else, but I would never leave this. I just love what I do. I love the people I'm around every day. And that has value. Emotional paychecks have value. And so when you look at it from the investing side as well, yeah, there are funds and well, not funds, but investors and stuff who are like, there is no emotion involved. It's like, how much do I make? That's it. And that's great. They can do that. And honestly, for me, I'm that type of investor too. I'm very logical, as much as it may not seem like. I'm like, freaking, how much am I going to make on this deal? I don't care what the house looks like. I don't care how much work it, like, tell me what's the end result of this, like, let's run the risk versus the reward. That's it. I'm very logical, but the majority of people are very emotional. And so when we look at the fund, we think, okay, how can we explain this to them in a very simplified way that anyone can understand? Because not anyone can read pro formas. Very few people can. And so how do we explain this in a very simple way? But also, how do we give them emotional value on top of their financial return? And for us, the way we're going to do that is through, obviously showcasing the properties on social media. And so for other people, if you invest in our fund, you can go show someone that video and be like, I invested in this building. Like, that has value. Other funds don't do that. And for you to be able to show off to your friends is a huge value. Another value that we can add emotionally is, like, once a year get-togethers. Like, let's get all the investors together once a year. Let's throw them a party. We'll go golf together. You can meet me. We'll go have a nice dinner, network. You're all accredited investors. Everyone's successful in something, financially. So it's a great area to be around. And so it's like, how else could you buy into that network of people? Well, just join the fund and you're in. And we're going to give people that emotional return as well. And, just with swag and stuff, we're getting them hats and shirts and all these things. Like, you're a part of a community when you join our fund, and you can see firsthand the transparency and what it is you're doing versus other funds where you literally have no idea. You don't know who's in it. You don't know what's going on. Every quarter, you're just hoping for a check. And so there's value to what we're doing that other people miss. And that's what I think is going to separate us as we go forward and as more people figure out what we're doing. And I think you're going to see a lot of funds try to copy us down the road and try to replicate it.
Yeah, I certainly admire and appreciate what you're doing. There are two sides to the fund management business. Kind of simplifying it, obviously, capital raising is a critical side, and your brilliance in social media is going to make all the difference. And absolutely admire your hiring policy. It's the emotional paycheck. Actually, for the first time I hear the term. I spent years in the corporate world. I can tell you that people stay on a job or enjoy a job pretty much primarily because of the culture. And then the second factor, which is probably even really the number one factor, is their relationship with their boss. So if they love working for someone, that's the primary driver of people staying or leaving if they don't have that. Obviously, entrepreneurial, high energy culture helps. And then on the other side of the business, it's that logical underwriting and deal identification, which I'm great at. I'm strong at that, but that's a very dry field. It's almost like at that field, you have to almost distinguish or extinguish all the emotion and just go purely. The holy grail term in investing is risk-adjusted return. At the end of the day, what are you investing in? What are your risks, and what is your upside? And if there's a combination of that mathematical approach, so you get the quality of deals while you're brilliant, appealing to emotion on the marketing side. So that's actually everything you said. Many fund managers should listen and should learn from you, because a lot of us as professionals, we're not good at what you are good at the social media and appealing to the emotion, because this is the new generation of the funds versus the old school that, like you said, they go to the Wall Street money, and the Wall Street money is extremely boring, extremely unemotional, and it's an incredibly difficult sales pitch. Even myself as a fund manager, you have to pitch to a family office or another larger fund to invest with us. That is not a fun experience. While your experience is a journey. And the other comment that I had, that we take the same comment. We push back on investors. That's the best sales technique you can have, is to push back and say, listen, this is not right for everyone. You're welcome to go somewhere else. But if you want to work with us, then we appreciate your investment. But if you push too hard, if you step on my toes too hard, have a nice day. Go find something else to do.
Yeah, we had a guy, I don't know, he was like, yeah, we'll do whatever, a couple $1 million. That's what he said. And then he read the PPM. He's like, oh, I don't like your guys' fees and everything. And I didn't get a chance to talk to him yet. But once you don't want to negotiate with me, because either way, you're either going to, we're not going to do business together, or you're going to like walk away feeling dumb. And I mean, these are successful people. And, the pitch I would be giving to him is like, why are you counting our pockets when we're going to get you a better return than, everything else you're currently doing? And then two, like at the end of the day, right? However a fund is structured with 80-20 or 50-50 or whatever pref it is, like at the end of the day, none of that stuff really matters. All that matters is what actually happened, right? The path to get to what happened is irrelevant. Like for a logical guy, really, it's just what happened. Did you make your 15%? Did you make your 12%? Like what happened? And that's what should matter. And that's really like what I'm training our sales guys to do is like, look, don't even worry about this. You can know how it happens, but the point is what happens. And that's one thing you learn in marketing too, is like people don't want to know like the work that it takes to get somewhere, right? They just want to know like, can you get me there? Like, is it easy to get there? Like, can you just do it for me? If you can do it for me and that's the result, then cool. Like I'm in. And so we just try to keep it simple. And, I think marketing is nothing without sales. And so with all these leads, we have to make sure that, we're raising money and having the right kind of pitch of why people should work with us. And that's what I tell them is like, if somebody's questioning fees or whatever, just tell them, do you care? Like if this return is what you want, what do you care that what we're doing before that? And also on top of that too, we're not able to get the deals that we need to get for this without making some money. Like we got to make money. I don't work for free. Do you work for free? I don't think so. Like, so if you don't want me to make a living and produce the best possible product we can, I can't produce a good product without making money. And so, if you're against me making money, I'm against you investing with me. And that's the sales pitch of why I don't want you in the fund as an investor. And then you would be surprised. There are people like, no. Like, okay, like I get it now. Like I want to be in. Even after all that, like dissing them, they're in, because most rich people and successful people are not ever talked back to in that type of way. They're always used to yes men and people just, bowing. And I'm just always like, I don't need anybody. Like freaking, I'm doing you a favor. So that's kind of the sales approach too. I think everything we're doing is way different than everyone else, just in terms of everything, all the way from the marketing to the sales, to the structure, to the after you invest experience. So it could totally flop, but it's definitely not the traditional way. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's so I was gonna say I beg to differ a little bit on the product, because we are a little bit on the opposite side, having truly what I call it institutional waterfall with a high pref and a high split to investors, versus you're offering a good pref and a good split, but you are appealing to emotional versus that logical investor who really cares about the nature of the waterfall. At the end of the day, you're right. The result is what matters. The sort of the difference where I say I beg to differ is we all have to keep the lights on, right? If we're not making enough money, we're not motivated to manage the fund well. So right. It's a balancing act between a fund manager compensation, motivation versus the investor return, and that balancing act. It's not a perfect, it's almost very dynamic and very fluid setup. So you could be on the extreme on one side where you have institutional waterfall, where you could have the waterfall like you have, which basically gives you as a fund manager a little better compensation than we earn in our funds. But at the same time, at the end of the day, it is return on effort. And if your team spends a lot of time and effort raising capital, then the compensation has to be adequate. So I'm not negating anything you said, just in the old school, I sell based on what the functionality of the product versus you're selling based on the benefits at the end of the day, what you, Mr. or Mrs. Investor, are going to get by working with us. So almost
100%.
So
100%.
yeah, I appreciate your wisdom. Any parting thoughts? Is there a way for folks to reach out to you if they want to learn more about your fund, or just reach out? I'm sure you have massive social media following. So what's the best way for folks to start following you?
Yeah. So if you just go to ryanpineda.com, you will see all my companies and all my social medias and all that stuff. And, if you want to be a part of the fund, it's called pinedacapital.com. As much as we're talking about, maybe conflict with investors and, what we deal like with people that I was referring to earlier, we've got a ton who are, the majority are like, hey, like I'm in, where do I sign? Like that's the majority. It's just the one, for whatever reason, you always remember the ones that annoy you. And that's, I don't know. I guess that's life in business. You could have 99 great customers and then you get the ones who make you mad. And that's what you can't forget.
Yeah, it happens in business all the time. Unfortunately, negative emotions are, they say, 7 times more powerful than the positive ones. They say people are likely to complain 7 times more often than give you praise. And the same thing happens with investors. You will get usually the smallest investor who's the most vocal, who'll consume a lot of your time. In reality, just push away the negative relationships.
$1 million checks is like, you never hear from him. The easiest guy to work with. Yeah,
absolutely focus on the positive. So appreciate your wisdom. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast. We got to do it again. And, final question. So you were a professional baseball player. You said you were drafted by Oakland A's, right?
Right.
Yeah, just curious because I definitely appreciate some of the. You're young, high energy, and today you are like that popular guy, Atari, right? The guy who's Otani. I'm sorry, he's. So.
Yeah. It's baseball was fun, man. I think baseball definitely prepped me for this really well with dealing with pressure. The discipline side of it of. Constantly failing and, having to strive to get better every day, because guess what? If you aren't getting better, somebody else is coming to eat your lunch and you're toast. And so I take that approach every day in business. I'm like, hey, what am I doing to get better? Because whatever, guy behind me wants to eat me, and guy in front of me, I'm coming for him. And that's just the approach I take. And it's not like competition. Like I want people to fail or anything like that. It's just like, dude, I want to get better every day. Because I'm never going to be good enough. And I want this to be the best fund there is. I've got crazy goals. I've got goals to make it $1 billion fund in, less than 5 years. And I think it's totally possible. And, we got a lot of work to do to get there, but, that's the approach you got to take. And sports taught me that you got to dream big, because if you're dreaming small, you for sure ain't making it, and, with Otani, you spoke about him. How many people told him you can't hit and pitch, as you get bigger, like you got to pick one. And he's like, nah, I could do both. Then he just does both. He's just the best at both. I mean, he's an all-star as a pitcher and a hitter. He's leading the league in home runs. This dude is literally Babe Ruth, throws 100. And I guarantee there were a ton of people that told him he couldn't do it. And man, it's incredible. And he's in another country. He don't even speak English. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's a rare talent. I guess he's the only guy since Babe Ruth who is doing both at this level. So You're right. And I do love your kind of, you got to constantly learn and improve. The old saying I learned is, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. So you don't have a choice. You have to keep getting better and improving.
Yeah, the world don't stop just because you stop. It's moving still.
Thank you, Ryan, very much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Big Mike Fund Podcast. To receive your copy of Mike's How to Choose a Smart Real Estate Fund book, head to BigMikeFund.com or visit Amazon and type Mike Zlotnick. Keep listening and keep investing Big Mike style. See you on the next episode.